Well, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. We've got an audience around the world today for what should be a very exciting and special broadcast here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. But a big welcome back to all of you who are joining us again. We've got classes from Ontario to Pennsylvania, Alaska, Kenya today. So it's so nice to have you as we get to showcase and celebrate the coolest people and stories on planet Earth. Now, today is particularly special because we are joining with our great friends at the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. They partner with us for our epic cross-Canada virtual road trip. But today we are going to their headquarters in Ottawa in the Alex Trebek Theatre to explore their pressure exhibit. So they've been showcasing the amazing DeepSea Challenger, which is James Cameron, the guy who directed Titanic and Avatar. Well, he built one of the coolest submersibles on planet Earth, and in 2012 went down to the deepest, darkest point of this planet. Now, that actually revolutionized all of deep sea exploration. At that point, he was only the third person to ever go down that far, which, by comparison, 12 people have been on the moon. And he's opened up this whole new world of deep sea exploration. We featured a lot of it here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and you can catch all those programs on our YouTube channel. But I'm really excited to turn you over with amazing interpreter Bee in just a minute to take us on a little journey of the sub and James's epic journey. Now, I want to highlight too really quick as a housekeeping note, we are going to have a Kahoot today. So if you want to play along with the little 4-question quiz between our talk and our Q&A, do just that, an extra way to keep it fun and exciting. Now, without further ado, I'm going to zip my lips, stop talking, turn you over to Bee and our sub. Let's dive in and go on a journey. Here we are.
Hello, hello. We are here, as mentioned, at 50 Sussex at the Pressure exhibit, more formally known as the Pressure James Cameron Into the Abyss exhibit. My name is Bee, and I'm the science interpreter for this lovely vessel right here. And I'm going to be going over the DeepSea Challenger that was created, brought to life by James Cameron. So James Cameron was mentioned Titanic, Avatar. What is this director doing? Building submersibles, right? It turns out when he was younger, he was actually inspired, well, first of all, because they made it to the moon at that point, so that was pretty exciting, but also specifically by something he saw in Toronto. So he and his family were visiting the ROM, and in front they saw this really cool structure. That structure was the Subliminous, which is an underwater lab that was designed and created by Dr. Joe McGinnis. If you could pull up our lovely picture here, please, Jesse. So James made a sketch, and he also wrote to McGinnis asking for more information on how to build. Dr. McGinnis, A-OK, helped him out, and then we got another picture. We can see that James built his own little Subliminous, and if you zoom in really close, which it might be hard to do from, on camera there, but there's a little test pilot in there. It is a mouse, but you don't have to worry about the mouse. The mouse was fine. It just got his feet a little wet. Right, which I feel is a good omen for his future scientific endeavors that he's got going on, right? So James Cameron brought together a team to build his dream boat. There we go. And the really cool thing about this stuff is not just that it's that wild lime green, which I love, but also in terms of how it is made, or specifically its makeup. If we could grab a picture soon, we'll be able to show that this actually is on its side, right? And it's sitting in its cradle. And it looks like the kind of stuff where you should be able to run around inside, right? But it is, in fact, not so. Can't judge a book by its cover, because the DSC moves vertically through the water, and Cameron has to sit in a little pilot sphere. Could we show 1 and then 2 on that particular slideshow? Seeing where he is in that tiny little ball. Beautiful.
I'm bringing up the 4th picture. I just want to note if we can get a little closer for your audio. That would be fantastic as I bring up our 4th picture of our diagram. Perfect.
We're good?
Perfect.
Perfect. Wonderful, wonderful. So he has to stay inside of the sphere, and he actually made a little test sphere or a simulation sphere to practice in, because you want to practice before you take a ship down to the bottom of the ocean. So if you come right over here, I will bring you to the simulation sphere. That's what we got here. Let's get like a little peek, just a little one. Oh, pretty funky. So for years, this is where James Cameron practiced. And the sphere that is in the sub, just like you saw in the diagram, is pretty much the same size with very similar features. So Cameron was stuck inside of that little ball for his trip. Couldn't walk around because the rest of it is actually made up of foam. Could we show our first foam, possibly foam whale was the title that I gave it, Jesse. We see her, viewed. And then you could also show the next picture, the boogie board. Wonderful. So you're seeing that he actually can't go into another part of the sub. So James Cameron, moving down, he's got to work with his team to make sure that he's safe in here, right? So when designers are putting together a vessel that's going to go all the way to the bottom of the ocean, they know they're going to have to worry about the kilometers of water sitting on top of them and pressing around them, right? So in this particular case, you could actually think of a sub like a water bottle. I'm going to wait for the world, the universe, to provide me with a water bottle. Yep, that one. Yep, and I will take that one. Yeah, you got it. Did you see? This is great. You know, the world's just working out for me. So if you have a ship that has a weak hull and is only full of air and is not very tightly pressurized, when it encounters pressure, gonna have a bad time. That's called an implosion, which is the opposite of an explosion. So humans normally don't survive this. And so what we've got are two different types of modifications we can do to deal with this problem. We've got one, which is make the hull, thank you, very hard. Even if I'm squeezing very hard, I'm not gonna break this water bottle. So that is like the sphere that James Cameron sits in, the pilot sphere that protects him from the pressure of the ocean. You can see here, got lovely pan over. So even though it's only full of air, that part isn't helping us out any, it's still got that steel cradling it around it that is keeping it safe from the pressure of the ocean. And then another modification that the engineers use is actually similar to a water bottle that is full and closed. So when there is fluid in this section, even though the walls, this is the same kind of water bottle as the empty one, but the walls are not very strong. Pressure's all right, but it's full of fluid. I can't squish it any more than this. I mean, you still probably don't want to be a sub that's like that squish, but you still want a strong hull. But the point being that the liquid is resisting compression, resisting the pressure that they are finding in the world around them, specifically in the water. I'm going to pass this over to, thank you, the universe. Excellent. And the next bit that they have to consider is to do with buoyancy. So James Cameron, very cool, got this whole ship to bring him out, go down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, except when he's down there, he still wants to come back up, right? You got to come back up. So he actually wanted something that would help him come back up, that would be able to handle a lot of failures. Because if you are relying on battery power to bring you back up to the surface, when the batteries die, that's not going to help you, right? And the batteries might die. So instead, we've got a battery-less solution. We have a little bit of, I'll hold this for right now, just as a little tantalizing teaser. We've got foam. So if we could show a picture of the foam, Jesse. Got some little micro balloons of glass in an epoxy resin. And it is very, very strong. The blend made by the co-engineer Ron Allam actually is strong enough to resist the pressure of the deeps right on it and not crack or break. And that's really important since it is indeed 70% foam. And other aspect of it, like I was leading in, is that it's still gonna work if things go wrong, right? So in terms of how that foam is doing all this spectacular stuff, I'm going to hold up a pool noodle. There we go. So when you are sitting on a pool noodle, it is going to go down for a bit, and then it's going to hold you there in the water, right? So the force of gravity pushing you down has matched the force of the foam pushing up, and that is called neutral buoyancy. So that is how Cameron is mostly moving. He's keeping neutral buoyancy, and then his thrusters are pushing him down the bottom, right? And his thrusters are pretty strong, but the foam is actually much stronger. So when he drops his weights, he rises up just like if you were sitting on a pool noodle. Not off. It's gonna come right back up, right? So thank you, universe. What we've got next is that the timing of it is actually another way to show how powerful the foam was. He took 2.5 hours to get down, but then only 1.5 hours to get up. That's the foam bringing him up the whole time, no fancy engines, nothing. Good job, foam. There we go. So the dive happened March 25th, 26th, over the day, depending on where you were in the world, in 2012. It took about 8 hours. He was stuck. Well, when I say stuck, he was protected inside of his little sphere, and he stayed there doing things like getting samples. He was filming, and he was also just exploring. So I'll let you get another look at our little practice sphere here. Wonderful. All right, so Cameron wanted to spend 4 to 6 hours on the bottom doing all that cool stuff, but he only ended up with 3. And part of the reason for that is that there were a couple things that were crushed because the water is very, very. The issues he had was with his robot arm. Could you bring up that particular image, Jesse? So you can see in the captions, he's talking about hydraulic fluid leaking. The important thing being his manipulator arm is unable to grab samples. He can't grab any more samples. Now, he did have one sample, and it was pretty cool since scientists, when they brought it back, found more than 60 new species of bacteria in it. So, he got some stuff done, right? But he wanted to get more. The reason that I don't consider him picking up that sample to be lucky before he had the issue with the arm is that he was modeling his behavior on a similar path that you could say of astronauts landing on the moon. So when the Apollo astronauts landed, one of the first things they did was pick up some lunar dust. And that was so that even if a whole bunch of other experiments didn't go the way that they wanted them to, they at least had some material to bring back for their, eggheads, their scientists to analyze, right? So in the same vein, James Cameron immediately picked up a sediment sample when he landed, and therefore he was prepared for this to happen. This is what he and his team were thinking of and working through this whole time on this project, is they knew that taking an experimental piece of tech to a very dangerous place, things are going to go wrong, right? If not just in life, things are going to go wrong. But what you want is good planning, like making sure you take a sample in case, the arm breaks, so that you have as much success on your trip as possible. And when we're talking about good planning, I'm going to bring us right over here to my favorite part, which is where the weights are, or specifically the weight release. So if you look down here, you can see there is a wire moving through this section. Oh yeah, we're getting a close up. I like that. So we got the wire moving through. So that brings electricity to this little cylinder here. And when the wire is wrapped around and electricity is running through it, it actually turns into an electromagnet. So that magnet holds up the weights, kind of like, I'll let you back away slow, kind of like this, right? And so one thing that's really handy for is that when he's ready, he needs to drop his weights, he's ready to return to the surface, he cuts the power, which means no electricity, which means no electromagnetism, which means no magnet. So those lovely little weights are going to fall. And so that makes it pretty handy for a scenario that could have very well come up, which is his batteries dying either in part or in full. In that case, no battery power, no electromagnetism, and they fall. That's what we want. When everything goes wrong, we want to be able to go back up to the surface, because there was no one who could come down and help him. He was pretty much going to die in cold alone if he was stuck down there. So we are planning to avoid that particular thing from happening. In terms of other redundancies, we've also got something in this section called a frangible bolt. So I'm going to take us over to our little practice sphere here. And you can actually see a switch on the bottom called frangie. Get my little finger in there. Yep, there we go. Hopefully focusing correctly. So that's something that James Cameron was able to trigger as another redundancy. It's basically similar to how rocket ships, when they're going into the atmosphere, separate from their booster rockets, right, after they pass through the atmosphere. So that is actually a little explosion that is caused. And in this case, the little explosion that he triggers can send the pieces holding onto the weights down. So that's if his normal options didn't work, right? And then for those up at the surface, because you need a boat to bring you all the way up to the Mariana Trench, right? If they're getting real worried about him, they can actually trigger that, sending a signal. So if he, I don't know, is taking a nap and they're worried about him, they can trigger the frangible bolt, and let those weights fall, right? And then there's still another scenario. We've got our last sort of redundancy here, which is that on a piece that we can't see, there is some galvanized steel, and the kind they know will corrode or dissolve in ocean water in 11 to 13 hours. So even if Cameron's knocked out and the crew can't find him, no one can find him, then this little piece of steel is going to break and the weights are going to fall and the Challenger is going to come back up. So on that very reassuring note, I'm going to bring us to what we have permission to show you, which is the actual descent of James Cameron to the Mariana Trench. Enjoy.
Okay, lower weight.
Should be seeing something pretty soon.
We have bottom. Surface, this is DeepSea Challenger. I am on the bottom.
Depth is
35,756 feet.
I did not come all this way to not see it with my own eyes.
Surface, DeepSea Challenger, preparing to ascend. Over.
There they go.
Surface, DeepSea Challenger.
Weights are off on ascent.
I hope there's some kid out there right now who's already dreaming of exploring worlds we can't even imagine.
DeepSea Challenger, we're coming to get you.
We did it. We all did it.
It's the force that drives all exploration, curiosity.
Okie dokie. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Jesse, what's up next?
Well, first and foremost, a huge thank you for such a cool tour inside the place today. This is fantastic. Such great imagery, and what a cool opportunity to show that footage. There was an amazing full documentary about his voyage to the bottom that I'm going to make sure all our classes have a link to at the end to place to find that. It's so spectacular. Everyone should take the opportunity to watch it. It really is one of the greatest bits of exploration in the world in our time. So take a look, check it out. If you get the chance to go to Ottawa in person and check out the exhibit on for a little bit longer, I really encourage you to do so. And just want to say a huge thank you, Bee, for the journey today. What we're going to do now is dive in with our Kahoot for a few minutes, and then we're going to do questions galore. So we've got tons of time together, but we're going to pull up our game pin here. For those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get, and what you win is B&I's Everlasting Respect, which I think is pretty cool. So let's bring this up together. We are going to go live with this in just a minute or so. Feel free to come on in, and especially if you're on YouTube, get your answers in nice and quickly. Tends to be a little bit of a delay there. And B, if you want to help us out with these answers with a few seconds.
Okay. That's what I can do. As long as you look at the time is, because I can't see the screen with the numbers ticking down.
I'll yell it out to you. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1 till our first question. The DeepSea Challenger is made up of 70% what? Is it vibranium, greased lightning, syntactic foam, or gold? Vibranium would be awesome. That would be the Wakanda version, I think. But perhaps not our main thing. We talked about this quite a bit. We had a few demonstrations with a pool noodle, perhaps. Well, 38 answers in so far. 1 second left. Get those answers in. All right. Yes, it's foam. I like that a lot of you thought vibranium. Fictional metal, but there is quite a bit of metal involved in the creation of the DeepSea Challenger, of course, but most of it is foam for all the reasons we discussed earlier. Very good, guys. All right. The Wonder Fox is in our lead as we go to question 2. The Mariana Trench is how deep? There's a little hint of what this answer might be on James's screen as we were going down. Is it 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 25,000 feet, or 35,000 feet, which is deeper than Mount Everest is tall? How deep is the deepest point of our oceans? And if you've ever done a Kahoot with me before, you know that I tend to go big. Perhaps that might be your hint of the day. 48 answered in. Yes, 35,000 feet. There are many places in the ocean that are 10,000 feet deep. Our Darwin 200 expedition we're following along regularly over water that deep. But 35,000 feet is the deepest point of the ocean, which is truly ridiculous. Again, the ocean is still one of the most unexplored places on planet Earth, especially its greater depth. So very, very cool. Legend Griffin takes our lead. B, question 3, the pilot sphere. What is it made of? We showed it. It's been on camera a bunch. Maybe this picture's a little hint. Is it steel, carbon fiber, aluminum, or titanium? And this is actually a bit of a tricky one. I would have actually gotten this wrong personally, if I had guessed this at the beginning, I would have gotten this wrong.
It's kind of a trick. I mean, it's not a trick question. There's an answer, but gotta have that short term.
It's steel, which is weird. It seems like the sort of thing like syntactic foam, that it would be a fancier material, something really neat and unique, but steel did the trick. We're already getting some sphere questions on YouTube, and I'm sure we're going to come back to that in a minute. As Legend Griffin has our lead, going to our final question together. What animal was Cameron's first test pilot? The picture gives it away. Mouse, goldfish, hamster, beetle. Go, go, go. Get those answers in. On that second drawing we showed, first test pilot. What's going on? Yeah. Maybe not a goldfish. No. All right, 6 more seconds, guys, and then we are going to head to Mr. Hancock's class in Georgetown first for questions in a minute. Ms. Coburn, Keller crew, we're coming to you all. It is a mouse. That is correct. Way to go, everybody. Let's see what our leaderboard is like, and then we are going to dive in with our questions. Awesome. Inspired Bat is third. Blue Wildcat is second. And number 1. Is Legend Griffin. Took it from the end. Way to go, guys. Thank you all so much for participating.
Nice, nice.
Well,
I like it when great.
That is very fun. We are going to dive in with questions, and I know we've got a bunch more pictures too, so if your questions touch upon things that we can bring up as images, we certainly will. But I'm going to bring in Mr. Hancock's class to kick us off with a question. Come on in, guys, and take us away.
Perfect. Hello. We had one of the students wondering, have they learned anything about the bacteria that they brought up? You said there were 60 different types.
Ooh.
Okay, there we go. Cue for me to go. So what I do know is that there have been several studies where he's actually been named as the co-author. His expertise has been added to the discussion of whatever's in the paper. I think I know a little bit more about the larger wildlife there. There definitely is intelligence that has been made about the bacteria, but not as widely publicized as other things that he's found out there.
Yeah, cool question, guys. All right, Miss Coburn, I'm gonna head to you guys if you want to flick on your mic, and then Keller Crew, we're coming to you guys next before some YouTubers. Hey,
Excellent. Thank you. Great presentation, by the way. The visuals were amazing. So we're in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and our question is, we watched that they put rockets up into the sky, and there's so many factors, and sometimes there's cancellations. So what do the oceans do? Sometimes will cancel anybody that would submerge deep. Are there cancellations? Are there factors?
Yeah, cool question.
That's actually a really good question, because this lovely ship here was only able to take one dive to the Mariana Trench because of factors that stopped them. So first of all, they were a month behind where they had planned to be. A couple of crew members died, which was a bit of a bad time. They also had some engineering things they had to fix. So they were a little bit out of their dive window. And then also the weather was really intense. They actually tried to lower it off because they use a crane. They tried to lower it off the ship, but it actually almost went and then swung back. And it's about 12 metric tons. So you do not want, a school bus hitting you. That's a bad time. People will not have fun. So that actually is why, if you were, paying way too much attention to the video, you'll see that the lighting is very weird. And it's because they actually launched at 4 a.m. local time, because that's when it was going to be calmest and when they were going to be able to take him out at the best time.
That is a really neat question. We've often had with subsequent subs that have gone down too, big storms will prevent them from launching a sub. Like, they don't want to put it in the water in a condition where something could happen where it could impact the ship in any way. So you're hitting the nail on the head. It's also really difficult to build these. 700 people have been to space, and still it's about the low 20s number of people that have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. So it is a significant challenge to get down there. This is true for any kind of submersible at any kind of depth. It's quite the engineering tack. So I'm really glad we got that one. Hutchinson, hi, Keller Crew. Come on in, guys. Hey. Hi.
Did he find any new species of animals, and what was his favorite?
Ooh, great question.
Ooh, so he actually, since he was only able to take up that one sample, the species he found were bacteria, but you have just given me the opportunity to show something else that they found there. So if you could bring up our little shrimp, number one.
I sure can.
Excellent. Right. So this, once I know that it's being on screen, I will start to talk. Beautiful. So this is a giant amphipod. Normally they're about this big, but these suckers live all the way down in the trench. They live off of particles that fall from the top, and they are very big. If we could show the next, see kind of a comparison, we will see a scientist holding a lovely shrimp or
I'm pulling it up. It's such a freaky creature, and I absolutely love it. I'm so glad we're getting the chance to talk about these, because the things that live on the bottom of the ocean are ridiculously large and totally different than what people would expect. This is actually, as things go in the deep sea, this is pretty small as weird things go related to their sort of land size. But still, this is like a gigantic shrimpy creature. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, have that for dinner. But one really cool thing about these little wiggly people is that they actually eat plant matter that's down there. And then when they eat it, they digest it and turn it into a kind of aluminum gel. So they spread that over the armor that they have, those little plates, so that they don't dissolve in the water. It's pretty cool to think of this little guy making his own suit of armor. That's one of the reasons I like him. Another one, we've got a screenshot from the documentary where you can see a little bit on the bottom. It mentions holothurians. So those are also known as cucumbers. They're very squishy, and they're able to live all the way at the bottom there. So when Cameron went, he didn't bring those up, but he caught a lot of video footage, which then scientists were able to review and discuss together what it was teaching them.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Bee. That was marvelous. We're going to take some from our YouTube friends. Miss Carter's class, hello in Stratford again. So nice to see you guys. They've got a few. Does the spherical shape of the pilot's space help to withstand the pressure? Why is it shaped that way?
Okay. So imagine you're trying to crush something in your hands, like, I don't know, putty or aluminum. If you've got a cylinder, there are a lot of points that could be weak points, stress points, and you can crush it like this, you can crush it like that, like if you're crushing a pop can. But if you have something hard that's hard from all directions, there's no one point that's weaker than the rest, right? Like if it was a box and I was trying to get into a cardboard box, I might try and get on one of the walls, but I would definitely try and get on one of those corners because those are going to be weaker spots. So in this case, perfect sphere is going to resist perfectly. They did actually need a door in this, and they needed to get some wiring in using penetrators. So it's not a perfect sphere, but it's going to resist the pressure very, very well because it is strong on all sides, and there's not an obvious weak point there are with other shapes.
It's a great question, guys. One more from our YouTube friends, and then we're heading back to Mr. Hancock. Is there a way to heat the cabin? Was James frozen down there, or did he have some sort of thing to keep him a little warm?
Ooh, I like that. But also, I want to go back and ask, was that someone from Stratford who was calling?
Yeah, this is our Stratford crew.
I'm from Stratford, so call out. Wonderful.
Hey!
Coming. Cute. So yeah, let's poke around the inside here. If we look right along this section, we see a lot of electronics. And that, as well as his clothing, was the only thing keeping him warm. And it's actually really cool how it enmeshes with his descent. So if he had all of those electronics on at the surface, he would have been poached like a salmon. Not have a good time, bad time in that sphere, right? So as he was descending to the trench, he slowly turned on more and more of his electronics, not only because, you know, he needed them, but also because it was cold enough that he wouldn't be boiled inside of his sphere. So that was something that he mentioned actually helped him keep calm for a lot of the descent, whether, you know, nervousness or excitement. Having that kind of structured thing to do kept him very happy.
Cool. Thank you, Bee. All right. Mr. Hancock's class, we're going to head back to you guys. Come on into Georgetown.
Awesome. One of our students was wondering how much it cost to build, and I think I heard you say there was only ever one trip. Why was that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. This is great. Multiple answers in one. So let's head back over here to sort of the main ship. I'll address one part of the question. It's been estimated that it was around 10 million to build the ship, and that was James Cameron's money. So definitely the making of Titanic was helping him out here, beyond the fact that he actually took a lot of dives down when he was doing the Titanic. But that's stuff you can do on your own time. You wanted to know about the particular diving history. So if we could pull up the picture that's called, I think, the big one.
Yeah, just give me a few quick seconds. Every time you need a picture, just give me a few quick seconds and I'll get it up for you.
Yeah. It's like, and the big one. So we'll just keep talking. So when we look at this map, you will see that it was built in Sydney, and then they traveled up past Papua New Guinea, which is where the New Britain trenches are, and then they went to the Mariana Trench, right? So on their way, they knew they wanted to test this out. They didn't want the first time to properly test this in water be, I don't know, in the middle of the trench. So they went on deeper and deeper dives into the New Britain trenches. And it's actually pretty cool because some of them were 8,000, meters down, and no one had been there before either. So he found some very cool wildlife. You want to look up spoon worms? They're kind of funky looking. And they did that as they were going. He actually had planned to have a month to dive. He was unable to do so because of the troubles that I mentioned with launching earlier. So he got the dive in, and then he actually was pulled away for director duties, and he was also contracted to work on Avatar, the Avatar series. So unfortunately, when you're a director, you occasionally have to do director things instead of just exploring the whole time. Big bummer. But point being, this lovely lady here was apparently sitting dusty in a bar for a while. And so James Cameron decided to donate it to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. So they took it And they actually brought the original scientists who built it together and discussed the very cool innovations that happened in building this ship. So we've got the foam, very funky. Syntactic foam already existed, but this is the kind that can resist that full pressure instead of cracking at 4,000 meters. We've also got the lights, very bright. Let's see if we can point at one of those little light bricks. Shield your eyes. Okay, let's not make everyone blind here. We got the lights, and we also have the cameras, which are, cameras are really delicate, but they actually made a 4-pound 3D camera that can be out in the water and resist the full pressure. So this is, wow, I'm just really getting into this. I love talking the effect it has on society. Point being, it was donated, and then in 2015, 2016, if you could start to bring up, oops, please, there was an accident. More specifically, there was a fire. So the fluid, the braking fluid on the truck, the trailer that was bringing it to another place, actually Australia, caught because the back wheels were locked and it sparked. So I'm not sure whether you can see that terrible conflagration yet. They thought it actually might be a write-off, just ruined. They brought it back to California, and you can see here that it looks fine now. They're like, oh, what possibly could have happened to it? But it is a very delicate machine, and you don't want to take this down anywhere deeper than like your local swimming pool. So its safety is another reason that it's no longer being used.
Great question, guys. And what a unfortunate incident, but I'm so glad we have the opportunity to share it as an educational tool and talk about this story and share it in so many ways. I do want to encourage our classes. DeepSeaChallenge.com gives you that access to the video. You can learn more about it. There's some spectacular stuff there. And of course, the pressure exhibit at Canadian Geographic, RCGS, the website for that is below. Time flies and you're having fun, folks. So we're going to head to Miss Coburn for one more to wrap us up. Come on in at Dalewood and take us away, guys.
Yeah. Hi, Bee. Throughout your presentation, you've mentioned quite a few careers that are possible. My class is in grade 8, and they're heading into high school, and they're just wondering what was your trigger? What triggered you into going into where you are today?
Yeah, this is great because this was part of like another intake form somewhere else. So I've already practiced this question. I love this. So when I was little, because at 5'2", I'm very tall now. When I was younger, when I would go with my family to historical places or museums, I would always start to tell them about what happened. Oh, St. Peter was crucified here, or this painting means this. And it was pointed out to me that I would probably make a decent tour guide when I grew up. And so I've done a lot since then. I studied political science, which one does not immediately think would connect to guiding. I've worked for Tenant Union, Acorn, great time, and had some experience working at the CN Tower, which gave me background. The point being, I thought this was very funky. I knew I could speak to large audiences, and there was indeed an Indeed ad I could apply to. And it worked out pretty well.
Fantastic. It's so interesting for me because we get to feature so many amazing careers in this, and I always love when people take the opportunity to ask our educators a little bit about their roles. So there you go, kids. If you're really keen, there are so many fantastic roles. We feature people at the Toronto Zoo, at Ripley's Aquarium, here at their RCGS, and really it's like the most enthusiastic, happy people I've ever had the chance to work with. I'm sure you got a little sense of that today, and I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in for all of this. Bee, before we wrap up, as I bring up these fantastic websites for our folks to check out again, is there any last message you want to leave us on about the DeepSea Challenger before we wrap up today?
I want to point out that James Cameron made that very cool sketch when he was 14, and it looks pretty professional. So if there is something that you're interested in, start learning about it. Even if you don't think that it's going to be some long-term career, it'll probably figure in your life some way, and it'll make you happy. So keep that up.
No better message than that. Get started immediately, whatever your passion may be. Thank you so much, Bee. I know we've got some virtual classes today and just teachers, but Mr. Hancock, Miss Coburn, I'm going to bring you guys in to say thank you and farewell. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now, guys. Thank
Well
you
done,
so
Bee.